German businesses usually think like a salesperson has to be an engineer, like a true engineer.
Right.
But here in the US, it's not always necessary like this. Like I mentioned earlier, the tri-state area. New York is now one of the most expensive city in the world. Not everybody will be a doctor or a lawyer. We need to have people that work with their hands, that learn a trade, that know what they're doing, because those jobs are very important. And the factory jobs. And people also need to understand there's good money to be made on it as well. There's a good compensation packages for those jobs.
Welcome to the Westbound Podcast. My name is Matthias Oertzen, founder and managing director of the OERTZENGroup. Each month we bring you international business leaders to share their personal and professional journey in North America. Thank you for spending time with us. And now let's get to it. I'm really excited to introduce you to today's guest. He has been a candidate of mine. He is now a client of mine, and he's been very successful in growing the company that he's currently working for. His name is Uwe Scharfy, and he's the CEO of Baumer of America. Welcome, Uwe.
Thank you. How are you doing?
I'm doing very good. How about you?
Very good. Thank you.
Excellent. So when did you come and where did you come from? I know that you guys are currently in between two locations.
Yeah, correct. Actually, I just came from Tampa. I was there over the weekend and setting up our facility down there, and came here to Atlanta, and then tomorrow back to New Jersey.
Very cool. That's awesome. Living in between two states at the moment.
Absolutely. 1,800 kilometers apart.
Yeah, exactly. Small distance, right? Yeah. Well, we're both from Germany. I think everybody can tell by now. Yeah. And maybe tell me a little bit about how you came to the States. What brought you over here? Where are you from in Germany?
Yeah. So originally I came to the US when I was actually 17 years old. And I was an exchange student, and I lived in Fort Walton Beach, Florida.
Very good. So back to the roots right now.
Back to the roots, yeah. I was an exchange student, did my senior year over there. Fell in love with the country, and I decided to come back one way or the other. And so I grew up in the Siegerland area. And
so for some of the American listeners, what would be like a big city close by?
So you can say it's about between Cologne and Frankfurt.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah. Okay. Middle of Germany. Okay.
Yeah. Small town.
Yeah.
But very famous for their machine building industry.
Okay.
For sure. And then I basically finished my schooling after I came back from Florida, and as an exchange student. And then I started my internship, finished school, started an internship as an Industriekaufmann, industrial business specialist, with also a German equipment manufacturing company. And then after 3 years, they're like, "Hey, Uwe, how about you gonna move to the US for like a year?"
That's awesome, yeah.
Yeah.
So was this right after your apprenticeship that you had finished with them, or had you been working for them?
Literally. Okay. I was done in August, and I think it was in October when I packed my bags and moved over. Yeah.
Yeah, and for some that don't know, apprenticeships, they usually run from August through, I want to say the end of June, right? And then they start again in August. So like legit, you probably couldn't have gone any sooner than October.
Yes, exactly.
That's great.
I was really excited because at the time I was like, this is an amazing opportunity that I should be taking. And I remember when the owners of the company asked me if I was interested in that, I immediately said yes. And so I'm a very spontaneous person. And when I like an idea, I go for it.
Yeah, that's awesome. And so the company that you were sent by is not your current employer, right? No.
Yeah. No.
Okay. And what area did you first get to? I mean, I know you said schooling was Fort Walton. Where did you end up working?
So I started off in Racine, Wisconsin.
Okay.
Up north, and I was there for about 8 weeks. But at the time, it was already decided that we're moving our location down to Hickory, North Carolina.
Okay.
So I spent about 8 years of my life in Hickory, North Carolina.
Yeah.
Went actually to school there, to college at night. So I pretty much worked from 8 to 5, and then from 6 till 10 every day during the week. I went to college.
Yeah.
And did the American school system here.
Yeah.
It was exciting.
That's
hard, but exciting.
Yeah, I can imagine. So, well, that's Fort Walton Beach, which is for some of our German listeners on the Florida Panhandle. We're right here. We're in Atlanta, so it's about a 5-hour drive. It's a gorgeous beach. I can highly recommend it. You go to Racine, Wisconsin, which is the exact opposite. On the Great Lakes. Very cold and that Midwestern snow probably up there. And then you go to Hickory, North Carolina. Okay, gotcha.
Hickory, North Carolina, and I was there about 8 years.
Uh-huh.
And after that, we moved the location to Columbus, Ohio. We had a joint venture partner in Napoleon, Ohio. Mm-hmm. And our office decided to open up a place in Columbus, where I was located for a few years. Mm-hmm. Then it was in 2012 mm-hmm. when my employer asked me to also move to China. Mm-hmm. So I moved out of the country for about a year, mm-hmm. and I lived in Beijing. And after 1 year, I came back, and I have to say, the American lifestyle is much easier for sure, especially nowadays.
I had no idea that you had been in China.
Yeah, it was amazing.
Yeah,
you learn a lot for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And then after the year in China, I moved back to Ohio, mm-hmm. and we decided to purchase another company out in Roanoke, Virginia, mm-hmm. Which meant that I had to move out to Roanoke, and I was there for a while, and then I was packed my bag more or less, mm-hmm. and moved to New Jersey to start working for Baumer.
Yeah, that's fantastic, and that's where we find you now. It's and I mentioned earlier in the introduction that you've been a candidate and a client. That's actually where our paths converge.
Exactly.
Where I think we started talking about the opportunity at Baumer together to place you there as a CEO, and then you've been there ever since and done some amazing things, which is what we'll be talking about today. So it's really cool. But before we go into the company a little bit, let's talk a little bit. Do you have, I think I came in 2005, very same situation. I grew up close to Hamburg, Germany, mm-hmm. and then Lüneburger Heide area, and then small village. You come into big Atlanta. You're in Jersey now, but you've been to other places. Were there some funny anecdotes? When first come into the States that you can recall or remember?
Just in general, I mean, like not necessarily anecdote, but when I came over here, in Germany over there, we recycle everything, mm-hmm. right? And you come over here and all of a sudden nobody recycles. Yeah. Everybody throws it in the trash can. I was always like, where is a recycling box? What trash can should I use for this or that? And they were looking at me funny, like, oh, there's only one trash.
There's only one trash.
So I was like, okay. So I felt like that was going back a little bit compared to where the Europeans are with the recycling efforts mm-hmm. at the time already.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, absolutely. We actually have some clients in that space, and it's amazing the opportunity that U.S. presents to them because the Europe is a little bit further advanced on those subjects, technology-wise and mindset-wise, really, honestly. I still remember I went to college at Georgia State, which is downtown Atlanta, mm-hmm. and then good German boy. I always had a bunch of cash in my portemonnaie or billfold. Yeah. And this gentleman comes up to me and he looks at me and he asks me, he's like, hey man, you got some change? And I'm like, oh, Wechselgeld, right? Yeah. So of course I have change, So I'm like, what do you want change on? So I opened my wallet with all this money I had exchanged from euro to dollars, to help him get his change, right? But he was really looking for some money to make, So I'll never forget that. That was quite interesting. Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about Baumer. Tell me about your current employer, and maybe just a quick introduction to the company itself.
Yeah, so Baumer is a manufacturer of foam cutting equipment, mm-hmm. and we're the largest one in the world that produces that kind of equipment. Mm-hmm. So all kinds of cutting and automation, racking, all these items that we're building. We're mainly serving the bedding market, mm-hmm. but also the furniture industry. We serve the medical industry, the transportation industry, like fashion, like if you think about your shoes. It's carpet underlayment, so the recycled foam that you put under your carpet here to make it more cushy. You probably know, like in the bedding industry, like Tempur-Pedic beds. So they're using our machines to cut the foam for them. Also, if you think about the headliner for cars, we also like really big in that. But we also do rubber. For instance, if you go to the gym, you have the flooring over there, and that's like recycled car tires. And so basically our machines, they basically cut the core of the recycled rubber.
Oh, wow. I can imagine that's super hard for the blade, like cutting rubber is probably
which is a good thing for us.
Oh, is it?
It's a really good thing because a blade is a consumable.
Okay, gotcha. Okay.
So the more you cut, the harder it gets. You have to grind the blades, and when you grind the blades, then it wears out faster, and the quicker you have to buy new ones.
Interesting. Okay, so you sell the blades as well?
We sell and manufacture the blades.
Okay, and do you manufacture, well, that's generally on the equipment side, but also the blade side. Do you make everything in the States, or do you assemble here? How's that?
So like the machines are being built in Germany. And a few years ago, for our horizontal CNCs, we decided that we can do some assembly of the machines. So the machines are still the parts are being produced in Germany for our OFS HE3, and we done the assembly over here. So we were full of capacity. The capacity was full, and that's the reason why we decided, okay, we can do some assembly here. But we also have built out the retrofit. So when we have clients, they want to buy a new machine, they might have an older machine that we buy back and freshen it up and then resell it on the market to like smaller customers or even going down south of the border.
Interesting. Okay, so that's recycling in a way.
Yeah, exactly.
Bringing equipment back and very cool. Yeah. How about, so I know it's Baumer of America. I think in Germany it's Albrecht Bäumer GmbH, if I'm correct, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay. How old is the company in Germany?
So the company was founded in 1949. And Bäumer here in the U.S., we were founded in 1979.
Okay. Oh, so you've been here this long then?
Yeah, okay. We started very early on. And we had our location out in New Jersey, always.
Where in Jersey?
In Tobacco,
okay.
Which is about 30 minutes from Newark Airport.
Okay.
Or about 45 minutes from Manhattan.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah. So for our German listeners, think New York City. Yeah. Just for simplicity's sake, New York City is the same right now. I think about 20 minutes to the west, and I think that's where Tobacco would be, right?
Yeah, okay. Exactly. Yeah. Which is very nice, no doubt about it. It's a small town, close to the big city, but also a very expensive area. So the tri-state here, the United States, is probably considered one of the most expensive areas.
And then tri-state, so for the German listeners again, that would be...
So it's like Connecticut, New Jersey, and New York.
And New York, okay, gotcha.
But also New York just voted or got the title of most expensive city together with Singapore. I just read that report.
Really? That's incredible. Yeah, I have also heard about New York or surrounding areas that there's been, through the pandemic, a lot of security. I think all the major cities suffer from this, but there's been like a lot of, crime increases and such. Can you confirm that? Or where do you actually live? Do you live on the Jersey side or close to New York? Or
I lived on the Jersey side, literally across from the Hudson Yard in Weehawken, and where the Lincoln Tunnel is.
Okay.
So I do confirm that. Sadly, yes, I have to confirm that the crime rate has gone up over in New York City. It's a city that I used to love going, and enjoy the weekend, and but not so much after COVID hit. So I can tell you that the city was literally a ghost town. Driving through there was unbelievable. Where it used to take me like at least an hour to get to LaGuardia.
Yeah.
All of a sudden I was there in 20-25 minutes.
Yeah.
When I needed to fly out.
That's insane. From the Jersey side to LaGuardia in 25 minutes. Sounds like a dream to me.
That was nice for a while. Yeah. Unfortunately, I wish there would be different circumstances and no COVID.
Yeah.
But I have to say, the city has changed a little bit since. And so the crime rate is up. The city was a little bit more clean during COVID because there was more cleanup. But now it starts to be a little bit more dirty again. And for me, I wish they would do something about that.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah, we were just as our company, we went to a company Christmas party we went to a restaurant, and then we went to Cirque du Soleil, which is right by Atlantic Station down here in Atlanta. Mm-hmm. So it's one of the largest gentrification projects in Atlanta. And actually Microsoft is there, and then so it's shopping and parking and living and all that kind of good stuff. Anyways, there's been a few shootings here lately, which you wouldn't think in that area, So I definitely can confirm it for Atlanta as well. But hopefully things will brighten up a little bit.
I think that's in general like a problem for the United States, and in terms of the weapons laws, it's much easier. I mean, for us as German people, not considering you can go to some store and just buy a weapon, right? It's like for us unbelievable and kind of scary at the same time. But here it's people love their guns, and I wish it would change a little bit. Yeah, no, I hear you. Yeah, it's for the German listeners. I mean, I'm sure you're aware, but it's in the Constitution. And therefore they have you have the right as a U.S. citizen or a green card holder for that matter to own a gun, and that comes with a lot of unfortunate and it's very difficult. That's for sure. Yeah, one of the many things that's so different here than it is to Germany. That's for sure. Absolutely, it's a big business too. It is a huge business. Yeah, in fact, I mean, if you think about it, I think everybody's here. I know Heckler & Koch is actually headquartered in Atlanta or Georgia, so which is a German gun manufacturer. Well, interesting, great. So you're in Jersey, tobacco. Let's go back to Baumer. We talked about the equipment you sell and some of the consumables you sell. Tell us a little bit how you go to market. Do you go through distribution? Do you go direct? How does it work for you? No, we don't go distribution here in North America. We do it direct because we're selling equipment that's not like it's quite expensive. Yeah. So tell us about that a little bit, just to get an idea. Like if you were to have a large line installed, right, or like a single piece of equipment, what are we talking about as far as dollar values? So it goes everything from like $30,000 to $40,000 all the way to millions. Okay. So if you have a complete line and everything, that gets really pricey, no doubt about it. It depends how much automation also you want to do with your product in your manufacturing facility. Yeah. Especially now, considering that wages are going up. Unemployment is low. Yeah. We see a big trend more on the automation equipment that we have to offer. Yeah, I can imagine that wherever you can eliminate headcount, so to say, and simply because you can't find the people, right? Well, I mean, I'm sure there's some more heinous reasons at times too, but generally, I think it's if you can't staff that brings us to a whole nother issue the United States has, which is immigration policy. But I don't think we're going to get into this podcast. Yeah. But I also think that if you think about it, like back in the past, I've been living in this country now for 24 years. Yeah. And if you think like back in the day, it was okay to use more manual labor for certain tasks because labor was fairly inexpensive. But in recent years, as you know, labor costs have gone up, not just in Europe, but also here a lot. Yeah. So companies are changing their mindset and they are like saying, okay, what can we do in order not to eliminate the labor, but to repurpose their labor force and saying, okay, the person can do a different task in order to get more products out. So what can I automate in order to have more productivity? Yeah, that makes absolute sense. Yeah, and I can see how if you have such high ticket
value items that you're selling, that you can't do that through distribution, because generally your own people would probably represent that better. Do you sell nationwide?
Yes, we're selling nationwide, and we're selling also. We take care of the Canadian market as well as of June 1st. We also of this year we also took care of the Mexican market.
Fantastic.
So and we even have our own employee that is located in Mexico City.
Yeah, that is very good. Yeah, that's many of our clients do the same. Handling the Mexico market from here. Rather than having it separated, where Germany still takes care of, or Europe, in this case, we're speaking to about a German company, but rather than dealing with Mexico out of Europe. And not having the U.S. deal with it, it's so much closer, and time difference obviously is a big thing. Yeah.
But not only that, if you look into the labor force, for instance, us at Baumer of America, we have about 40 employees, and under those 40 employees, we're very multicultural. So we have like 11 different cultures with 40 employees, and many of them are Spanish-speaking people. We have German-speaking people. We can cover Italian. We can cover Portuguese. Of course, Spanish, very important. So, like a lot of the workforce here in the U.S. is more Spanish-speaking. Yeah. And from that perspective, it also makes sense, not only on the same time zone, but we have the language skills, what it takes in order to speak to our customers to make sure that they're served very well.
Yeah, that's interesting. I went on a business trip to Querétaro, I think is how you say it, right? Yeah. And I was surprised. I'll never forget this experience. So I went to see 3 prospects in Querétaro, because I wanted to figure out what market is like there. And then I went to see one of our largest clients at the time in Plano, Texas. Okay. And so I'm in Querétaro, and it reminded me so much of Europe. Much more than the U.S. Everything was smaller, more quaint. There was coffee shops, everything like that. And then I went on a plane, and I went to Plano, Texas, and there was 6-lane highways either side. It's just so amazing. And actually, I don't know if you can confirm this, but we have found in our business that, like, working with Mexican candidates specifically, a lot of times they've not to say that American employees are not, but like culturally, there definitely seems to be a bond or a closeness between Mexican candidates and European candidates. I don't know if you found the same.
No, I totally agree with that. And also, that makes us a little bit unique. We're close to them, but we have the European bonding, the German bonding, and the relationships between Mexico and the U.S., Germany is actually really good. And there's a certain bonding and trust that you build up. You build like a friendship, a relationship with your customers over in Mexico, and that definitely helps to develop each other. With each other, you're growing with each other.
Yeah, very interesting. This is actually brings me a little bit to some of the HR related things I wanted to ask about your business as well. How do you see European expats coming? How is that creating an upheaval, in your company, or is that always going smoothly, or is it a mixed bag? How do you have expats coming from Germany to help you out on certain projects?
We do. Yeah. We do have expats here and there that are coming over. We just had one that just came over on August 1st. Great person. But I think there's less expat interest of people coming over from Europe to the U.S. than it used to be 20, 25 years ago.
Why is that?
Well, when I was being asked, I was like jumping on it right away. I had to think about it twice. I'm like, I'm going to do that. I think people are like, nowadays, they're more comfortable. They like staying over in Europe. Europe has a lot to offer. Yep. But then sometimes also think the political climate has really it has changed a little bit over the last few years, if I can say that. So the differences between the parties are too big nowadays. And when I came over here 20 years ago, and each party, they were trying to find a common sense and find agreements in order to move forward and to develop. And that seems to be like drifting apart in the last few years.
Even further, yeah, I can completely. I mean, I think in Europe we can resonate to that as well. I think there was recent quote unquote elections in Italy. There were, but right before that we had French elections. There were German elections, and it's very separated, for lack of a better word. And it's the same here. I completely. So we work with a lot of clients that are considering to come to the United States. Very large projects sometimes. Other times, set up a sales and service office. And we can definitely see that this is what we call foreign direct investment, or FDI. And we can definitely see that things have changed since this last administration is in place. There was a definite fear, rightly or wrongly, before with the other administration. So it's so I can definitely understand what you're trying to say. Yeah.
But also what you see, for instance, with the expats, usually I came over to the country. I was supposed to be here for a year. Well, it's now literally 24 years later.
Yeah.
And I still love it.
Yeah.
But when I lived in China, I did that for a year. I would have done a little bit longer, but I was glad to be back. So nowadays you have to think about expats. They're coming over. They have their German ways.
Yeah.
And they're going to stay for 2, 3, 4, 5 years.
Yeah. And
then they're usually going back.
Yeah.
So, and then companies are starting fresh again. And as you know, like here in America, people change their jobs quite a bit. European, German businesses are not used to it. They usually like to hold on to their employees. The employees are very loyal in the most part, even though this changes a little bit.
Yeah.
But there's still like lots of loyalties for each other.
Yeah.
So German companies, they like build their people up here, but then they're going back, and then you start from scratch again.
Yeah.
Which costs money.
Yeah.
Right.
It costs a lot of money. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's interesting too that I think what's often overlooked for a German company trying to make it here is, you're a very small pond. It's a very small fish in a very big pond, right? I mean, of course, if you go to areas like Stuttgart, and you have all the major German brands there, they're competing just as much for talent there. But you're very close to New York City. There's a heavy industrial base in New Jersey. I don't know the numbers, but it's a very high percentage of the U.S. population actually lives, within a 200 to 300 mile radius of New York. I don't know the exact numbers, but it's insane. It's like, I don't know, 180 million, something like that. It's very large. I think we're currently 340 million.
Yeah.
So it's very large. And so you're competing as a small company to this market, with usually a high-priced item, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But you also have to think about like I mentioned earlier, the tri-state area. New York is now one of the most expensive city in the world.
Yeah.
And the consequence out of that, you have all the people that are living in Jersey that basically go by the train over to the New York side to work there, but they can't afford to live there anymore because it's so expensive. So subsequently, more and more people in New Jersey, their rents are going up, their property values are going up, housing. I have a lot of employees that are literally asking me, like, we can't afford a place here anymore, or you have to drive long distances, and that becomes a problem in the area for sure.
Yeah, I can imagine. Which brings us to Tampa, but let's talk about that later.
Absolutely. Sorry.
Yeah, no. This is completely great. Absolutely. Is there? What do you think is the largest miscommunication or ground for contention between, a European headquarter and a U.S. subsidiary?
So, I think in general, like if you think about European businesses over here in the U.S., you want to make sure that they're independent, right? And German businesses usually like to keep keep them close by. They want to know about every decision that's being made. They want to be involved in these decision makings. I get it and I understand. You know, there's a lot of investments you're putting up, but you also should put a certain amount of trust towards the people that run the business. Because in America, like, decisions are being done, in my opinion, much faster than what you would see over there in Europe.
Yeah. How do you think the customer here is different compared to
the customers they're very different. So, I mean, of course, it's a relationship building with our customers. But if you think of an equipment manufacturer, you know, there's a lot of engineers that are employed by our company. So German businesses usually think like a salesperson has to be an engineer, like a true engineer.
Right.
But here in the US, it's not always necessary like this. Of course, they should have a certain amount of technical knowledge, no doubt about that.
Yeah.
But when it gets too deep into it, you can get your answers from one of your engineers.
Yeah.
Here in the US, a lot of the stuff is about the relationship that you're building with the customer, building a trust. And you
knowing the college football schedule.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, exactly. So I definitely feel like you know, I don't want to say like a used car salesman, you know, just to talk. That's not what I mean with that. But I mean really like somebody that understands the customer, that's there for them. And you would be surprised how many phone calls, for instance, our area sales managers are getting if something is breaking down on their machine, even though they might contacted our hotline, our technical support right away. If they don't get a response within 5 to 10 minutes, well, they go to the sales manager and say, hey, I need some help, you know, even if the machine is 20 or 30 years old. So therefore, I think the Germans are extremely technically detailed. And here in the US is about talking more about the overall picture.
Yeah, absolutely. That's interesting what you brought up at the hotline. Maybe you can talk about this a little bit. So you have sales folks out there, sales professionals looking for new opportunity, closing new opportunities, and then you have a hotline. How does that interact? When does hotline take over?
So our hotline consists of they're basically 2.5 people.
Yeah.
And all I do is basically answering phone calls and emails and also do parts research. So when there's a problem, we usually create a ticket. And with the ticket, we're looking into the support and help the customers first by phone, by email, give them pointers what to do or send them documentation. And if that doesn't help, then we try to dial in via modem. And if nothing helps to solve the problem that the customer has to bring the machine back up and running, we might have to send a tech then out there.
Okay, so you have a dedicated team of field service techs that you could dispatch.
Yes.
After initial troubleshooting. Okay. Yeah.
We have about 10 full-time service technicians right now.
That's great, and covering nationwide service.
Yes.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
US, Mexico, and Canada.
Okay.
But I mean, sometimes that is not enough. But then we work hand in hand, of course, with our headquarters in Germany, and they supply us with some technicians when needed, and in order to satisfy our customers, because you know that America, and this is the thing, American customers don't want to wait.
Right.
So if something is not working, or if they need help or support, they want it now.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, or it's the same with spare parts. Customers don't want to wait 2-3 weeks. They want it the next day.
Yeah.
And sometimes, you know, machines are 20, 30 years old. Some components are might not available, but they still want the parts the next day.
Yeah.
Which I understand. They want to get their production back up and running. And the key to success here in the United States is the service, technical support, so the customers can have a designated contact that they can call when they need help. And 2 is availability of components for their machines that they can get back up and running quickly.
Yeah. I mean, if you think about your private life and what we're accustomed to, right? You have to, I mean, it's the same in Germany now. It's getting more and more to be that way in Germany. But if you think about, you can order something, and sometimes you get it delivered the same day, right? You can eat whatever cuisine you want, and you have it delivered within an hour. Here, the return policies, I'll never forget this. Like from coming first to the United States, you can bring anything back at any time, and it gets returned for full refund for no reason, right?
Even if the package is open.
Yeah, even the package is open.
It's like, I don't like it here.
Here's the credit, Or sometimes, I don't know if it's happened to you. Sometimes if the value of the item is too low, they'll just say keep it.
Yeah.
I've had this happen. So, and then think about it. If this is your private life and that's what you're accustomed to, I bet you that's what your customer then in the purchasing department or in the operations department takes that into their profession and has the same expectations as for you as a capital equipment manufacturer.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's true. Is it always right or wrong? I mean, that's debatable.
Yeah, that's true.
But yeah, you're absolutely right. In times of Amazon, they introduced it basically the next day.
Yeah.
Air shipment, get everything right away. Don't have to wait, or you get it the same day.
Yeah.
So that's what our customers are expecting from us. But we try to, with the customer service. We try to, even if our customers call us, we're open from basically the shop starts at 5:30 in the morning. Mm-hmm. We're open all the way till 5-6 p.m. every day.
Yeah.
So if our customers call us at 3-4 o'clock and they need something urgently, we'll get it done.
Yeah.
And customers don't forget about that.
Yeah, for sure.
So there's like an old saying of my old employer, the founder of that company. He said, and I live by this.
Yeah.
So still today, and
yeah.
I think it's very important. He always said, the sales department sells the first machine, but the service, they sell the next machines. If the service is good, you sell the next machines automatically easier.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's absolutely true. The whole made in Germany and having major car brands here, I think it's still in the U.S. consumer's mind. I think Germany still stands for high quality and high prices, which actually brings me to another question. Do you think you can, because of do you think the U.S. consumer and the B2B consumer is less price sensitive than the German client, the German customer?
I would say the German clients are very price sensitive. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying that the Americans, they are also, of course, price sensitive, but like in your personal life, right?
Yeah.
If you want in America, if you want to get something done or you want it, mm-hmm. then you get it right then and there. Right. If it is a little bit more expensive, okay, mm-hmm. but you don't have to wait. Mm-hmm. And that's the key for it. Mm-hmm. So like when we buy a car here in the US, you go to the car lot, you pick a car, that's the one I want.
Yeah.
It might not necessarily have every little detail that you want, but you can take it off the car lot and drive it home the same day or maybe the next day. In Germany, they wait, 6-8 months, 10 months to get their car. Yeah. And they're okay with that. It's just a different mentality, a different mindset.
That's such a good point. So my wife and I just bought a new car for her. And we were discussing that. She's from Argentina, right? And we walk into this large dealership and there was, I don't know, like it must have been several hundred cars. I don't know how many. And you just go, it's one after another. And there was like, of that particular car that she was looking at, there was probably 18 of them there. And you could take a look and, just different fits. And whereas you're absolutely right. In Germany, you would order the model and then you add all the add-ons and no one has, or maybe a few large dealers have inventory, but not like here where people literally decide to, on a Friday, I want to get a new car. On a Sunday morning, they go get one.
But even think about that. Yeah. Even if the dealer doesn't have the car that gets close to your wishes, they will go look in their database and they have one shipped from another dealer from another state. Yeah. It might be an extra $1,000 in order to have the car transported from Texas to New Jersey or to Georgia. Right? Yeah. But you have the car right there.
Yeah, it's absolutely true. Do you believe then, like, we're talking about the big pond, right? Mm-hmm. and the gap that we have there and the culture gap. Have you seen during your time, what is it now? How many years then have you been
24
here?
years.
24, okay, yeah, I'm 19. Have you seen that culture gap widen, get smaller, stay the same?
I would say it's about the same. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would say it's about the same. I wouldn't say it got smaller, it got wider.
Yeah.
But what I've seen in terms of like people that travel a lot, they're actually much more open-minded in a lot of different ways.
Yeah.
And it depends who you talk to. I mean, there's people that never leave their state, and you get the same thing with Europeans, with Germans, even though Germans love to travel, right?
Yeah, that's true.
The travel nation number one, basically.
Yes.
Where Americans, I wish sometimes would travel even more to see what's out there, how other countries live and what their cultures are about. Because once you speak to the people that have been traveling abroad a little bit more, you see a different mindset on there.
Absolutely. I totally agree with you. And also my personal experience has been, you meet some Americans and they may have, international travel may have meant, a cruise to the Caribbean or, a resort in Mexico, right? But still, some of the nicest people you've ever meet. I mean, just inquisitive. One of my best friends, I don't think he's been to more places than what I just described, and just really solid person, good people. And what I always appreciated in the States, and I still love this, it's the general attitude is friendly. And now a German would say like superficial, but it's friendly, which I like.
Yeah.
And then there's always some small talk going on, like if you go get your groceries or, you're somewhere in the, some kind of county office to you renew your license tag or something, license or tag. People are friendly, I really like this about the States. My experience in Germany is a bit different.
But you have to also consider it the location, right?
Yes.
Up north, the people are not as friendly as the people are in the south. So you can really see that as soon as you cross. I mean, I don't want to differentiate between the states, but if you get into North Carolina, Georgia, people are like super friendly. Yeah. They like to talk to you. You don't know them, and sometimes you're like, what is this? It's like, but it's nice. It's like welcoming. And, sometimes people ask me, they're like, oh, you Germans are very like, not stubborn, but I would say more like
direct, kind of
very direct, blunt. Or unfriendly.
Yeah,
I'm like, no, that's not true. But I mean, the German people, once you get to know the German person, they are like, do anything for you. They're there for you, right? And if you develop a friendship, the friendships will be there forever. Yep. Like, for instance, my best friend, we met each other when we were 3 years old, and we're still best friends. And his name is Marcus, and a great guy. And sometimes we don't need to speak for months and months, and we pick up tomorrow where we were left off yesterday. Yeah. And yes, you're right. In Americans, it's a little bit more superficial, but very friendly to each other. And that's a little bit of a difference. Yeah. Yeah,
for sure. Yeah.
But again, think about the North and the South. There's a difference.
Oh, and then you go out to the West or the Midwest, you know, or you go to Texas, which is a whole nother thing. So it's there's definitely regional differences for sure, in this, which makes this country so fantastic, in my opinion. I mean, it's. And back to the point that we discussed earlier too, I wish it was more of what people thought of the States maybe 20 years ago, which was, Elvis Presley, Route 66, California, freedom, big cars, large highways, like that's neon lights, Las Vegas, like those are kind of the things that I remember as a German thinking about the United States. Horses, for some reason, wild horses, maybe the Marlboro Man got me there. I don't know. But, that's what I associated with the States, and I was excited to go and see it, and for the most part, I've been rewarded for going in that, and now there's a lot of, now we have school shootings. Now we have inconsiderate politicians, to put it politely. Now we have taxes against our industries. I guess one thing to say, and then move on to that from that, the United States isn't that, if you're here.
Correct.
Yeah, it's what I think Europe thinks. I think when you live here, your experience is completely different. I think the vast majority of people is open-minded and interesting, and interested in you as a foreigner, and interested in your business and product, and I think you can make the United States whatever you want it to make as a foreigner. Yeah,
absolutely. It's a great country to live in, no doubt.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, I do too. I mean, actually, that's another question that I have. Then it's like, do you see yourself going back, or do you see your future here?
That's an
interesting
Tampa,
question. I guess. How are you going back from that?
Well, we're just in the middle of the move, and we're very excited. And obviously, I have a little bit of experience with living in Florida.
Yeah,
it's a great state to live.
Yeah,
but I lived in different states. Yeah. I lived obviously in 3 different countries, and yes, I mean. Right now I'm here. I want to stay here, no doubt about that. But you never know what the future will bring. Sure. But if I would have the crystal ball, I would just say I would stay here.
Yeah.
I'm an American citizen as well as a German citizen. So, God forbid that anything ever happened,
sure.
But with the war in Ukraine, you have to consider that too. Where will we be in 10, 20 years?
Yeah.
I mean, with 2 passports, you have a lot of possibilities.
You're in good shape. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I'm actually in that process right now. So for our American listeners, the word or the document you need to attain for the German government for you to allow you to keep the citizenship and get the U.S. citizenship is, hold on to it, Beibehaltungsgenehmigung. So that is one word.
Yeah.
And that really what will be the translation. The translation would be
you still have to have the ties to Germany. So you have to list like, do you have like friends? Do you how much is your communication? Do you have bank accounts? All kinds of questions that they ask. And they want to make sure you still have good ties to Germany.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's the document actually means permission to keep. Beibehaltungsgenehmigung. Anyways, it's a long word.
It's a long word. German word.
Okay, we're good there. That's great. Before we move on to Tampa, I know we've been teasing Tampa, but we'll talk about Tampa later. Tell me a little bit about how you were able to grow the organization in the United States. I do remember when I worked with the part of the ownership family and placing you there as a CEO. That the company was at where? It was what, in the 10, 11 million, something like that?
Yeah, we were doing about 10 million.
Okay.
So we more than tripled the business in the last 5.5 years.
So what are you going to close the year this year?
We'll be right around 32 million this year.
That is fantastic.
So it's a nice number for sure.
Yeah, that's great. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. But it's a team that you build, right? And I mean, we were at the time 15 employees. Now we're 40 employees.
Yeah.
So it's very important you pick the right people. And obviously, you have large corporations and you have small companies, and small companies function a little bit different than the large ones. So it's for me, it's always important that I make sure that I speak to everybody that's coming on board with Baumer. Yeah. Because I want to make sure that they're a good fit. They fit to the team and they all get along. We always call it the Baumer family, right? So we just had our Christmas party last Friday. And one of the rituals that the new employees have to do, they basically have to stand on the podium and then they have to say, what do they love about Baumer in their first year? Why did they join our company? And everybody is like listening to them and they're speaking and it's just like really nice. And one of the things that you always hear is like the word family. And I'm very proud of that because you will be successful if you have good employees that have helped me build the business. We did it together. It's never a person alone. It's always the team. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I completely agree. How were you able to, in the danger of looking like I'm trying to pitch my own business, I'm not. How have you been able to, I mean, obviously we worked together. I made the introduction and that worked out quite well, but maybe you can talk about that a little bit, how you, how internal recruiting versus, working with someone like our company, what your thoughts are on this. So, I mean, with a small company, it's very difficult to really find like an HR specialist, right? That is dedicated, that can search for people, find the right fit, and where do you start, where do you stop? I mean, of course, you have multiple online channels that you can, LinkedIn, one of them. Of course, it's probably the biggest to find the right profiles. But going through this, I mean, nowadays, when you send out an ad, you have like a lot of people applying for jobs, but going through this, and not everybody is the quality that you're looking for. It's just basically a resume. So differentiating that and finding the good quality candidates is extremely difficult. And I found that certain position at a certain level definitely makes sense to work with you. And I mean, you know, you have been very successful, or we have been together very successful.
For sure. Yeah.
So you always give us good candidates. You give us a selection. We'll talk about it. And I think without putting too much into the HR, too much work into the HR function, we were able to do with you. You were doing the job for us, basically, to find the right candidates.
Yeah.
And I never really had to go too deep into it. So, I mean, the interviews, of course, with myself and the employees.
Yeah.
And then we found good people.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's been really good. I think we've worked together now for 6 years or 5 years, something like that.
Almost 6, yeah.
Almost 6, yeah. That's incredible. And I mean, from our side, it's really you allowing us access. I mean, I've been to Waco many times. You know, I'm familiar with your machines as much as I need to be familiar with them, you know, to find the right talent. And then us really building a relationship, you know, understanding how you go through the offer letter process and such. That's been really good.
Yeah, and you know, you said the keyword. You've been to our facility in Waco, and I think it's extremely important that when you work with a headhunter, and you know the relation and the connection here is there, but it's always very important that the headhunter understands your business. He understands your product. You guys know what we want, what we need. Yeah. But not only the product, but you also need to know our team, which you know. Most of our employees, I have introduced you to everybody. Yep. We had conversations with people, and that really, really helps because you kind of already, like, through these conversations, you know what kind of characters we are, right? Yeah. And then when you have your interviews with potential candidates, that makes you also think like, oh, is this a good fit or is this not such a good fit? Yeah. And I think this is something, you don't develop that in the first 6 months, right? It takes years to build this up. And I think, you know, it's important. Yeah, I love this about working with European clients because if there was a difference, I think it is. I mean, many of the clients that we have, they're family owned. You know, they're not traded, and they have a longer horizon in their planning. It's an Achilles heel too, but in other aspects. But it's also good in this aspect in particular, you know, because you get the chance to build a relationship, you get to understand how the people tick, and then you interview the candidates and like, yeah, this is not gonna fit team wise, this will fit team wise, you know, and not waste your time or my time. That's very interesting. On you know, we talked a little bit about expats, and sometimes you have to get an expat, you know, to handle a certain situation. Talk a little bit about the quality of employees. Quality sounds derogatory. That's not how I mean it. What I mean is maybe the educational base of these employees and what your experience has been. So, I mean, of course, in Germany, we have the apprenticeship program, right? And the employees learn from early age on, learn a specific job as an electrician, as a mechanic or mechatronic or industrial business specialist, whatever it might be. Yeah. And there's an intense training on that. But you went through a 3-year system, right? I did. Yeah. I did too. So I'm a product of this. I learned what's called Großen Außenhandelskaufmann. Yeah. And you were Industriekaufmann. Yeah, Industriekaufmann. Yeah. Okay. Which was, I learned a lot on that. I did too. Yeah, for sure. I learned to be punctual. That was one. That's good. Yeah. Especially as a German. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's true. I actually, you know, we have very good quality between the Germans and the American people that we have here. And having all these different cultures, I have to say, we are looking for each other, right? We're helping each other, and we are learning from each other. So I have to say that in our headquarters, we have more people that are very specialized in a certain type of a machine, where here in the U.S., because we're a smaller team, we have to learn a wider variety of equipment to work on. And so we might not be always the 110% specialist on that one specific machine, but I would almost say we're like really, really good, close to 100% with these machines, right? But we're looking into more training on different types of machine. And of course, with our expats, we utilize the knowledge. We cross-train. When we have a new technician, we send them out with an experienced technician before we even send somebody to Germany. So
you send your employees also to Germany for training?
Yeah, we do that. We call it cultural exchange.
Yeah, cool.
Because it's always important to get to know your counterparts, your colleagues over in Germany. It has to be a good relationship with each other. You know, you're a subsidiary, you're in the headquarters, and we have to work with each other. We have to pull on the same rope in order to be successful.
Huge investment. I mean, it's
worth it.
Yeah,
it's worth it,
yeah. I would agree. And how do people enjoy this? Is this something they look forward to?
Yeah, absolutely. We just had some people over there that were there for training. We had some technicians over there. We had a couple salespeople that were over there. We have an apprenticeship program that we had in New Jersey, and we did like a mechatronic apprenticeship program together with the German American Chamber of Commerce of New York, as well as the Morris County College. So they went to school.
So it's a collaboration between the German American Chamber of Commerce and then a community college, right?
Yes,
a technical community college. Okay.
And actually the state of New Jersey.
The state of Jersey. Okay.
Yeah, the state of New Jersey was promoting this, and we're pushing that because they want more skilled labor in the state.
Interesting. Yeah. Yeah, I see this all over. I mean, the skilled labor is really. I think it's the same in Germany. I also don't mean this in a bad way, but it almost feels like Germany is always about any problem we have here. Germany is about 10 or 15 years behind. All the good or the bad stuff. I just heard the CEO of Trigema on a podcast, and I think he said something like, "Good or bad, 15 years later, it's also in Germany." And I would completely agree with this. I mean, that's very true. And that's if there was more, state organized, working with community college, more political will for these, I think you get a lot of people that maybe are looking for a future in something and don't want to go to college, to join these programs. And I always commend or think it's awesome that, some of our clients or German companies have that kind of holistic view and actually invest in this. It costs money, right?
And you have to think about like when you're a parent, usually like in America, and you hear a lot of it, like, I want them to be a lawyer, I want them to be a doctor, and all these things. I mean, it's nice and dandy, right? I get it, but not everybody will be a doctor or a lawyer. We need to have people that work with the hands. That learn a trade, that know what they're doing, because those jobs are very important. And the factory jobs, and people also need to understand there's good money to be made in that as well. There's a good compensation packages for those jobs. So it's actually sometimes, enlightening, and I'm happy for those people. That they can make good money on that. Yeah,
see that you mentioned something too. You use the word factory, right? Like it's so funny how this is in the States, right? People talk about blue collar or skilled labor or manufacturing or production. What they think about is Pittsburgh under Andrew Carnegie, right? Like it's all dusty and smelly and there's fire.
Rust Belt.
Yeah, the Rust Belt. And more much more reality is based on my clients is what you now probably know from like a Tesla environment, when you look into these gigafactories, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I've been to your facility multiple times. You just went through an update, you can eat from the floor. I don't suggest you do, but that's how it looks.
Yeah.
And, everything is very bright and it's light and there is clean equipment and people get, I'm not sure if you do or not, but like some plans actually sponsor the clothing for the employees that then can be cleaned.
Yeah.
And, so it's, I think there's just an image change that has to happen that I hope that takes more root here, Yeah.
I mean, we do compete with large corporations, right? And what do small companies have to offer? Of course, the large corporations have much deeper pockets, so we have to be creative as a small employer. So we have a good work environment, make sure that people work in a team, help each other out, that the workspace is nice, and like we have raisable desks, ergonomic workspaces. And that's not normal here necessarily in the United States. In Europe, it's more common, I would say, but here, especially in a factory and manufacturing environment, we try to make sure that the people feel comfortable, and not only with the workplace, but also like team building events that you got to do this, to push the team efforts into the next level.
Yeah. I think that's one thing that companies that consider U.S. as it's a true capitalistic society when it comes to, people always talk about hire and fire, right? And, it's so much easier to, release an employee as it is in Europe, for example, right? But it's 10 times that hard to find the right and retain the right employee.
Excellent.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So it's a true competition on the HR side, getting the right people to come work for you and getting them to stay, and so you can build that nucleus of employees that make your team. Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, once you have an employee, you want to hold on to them. I mean, especially when they're good, because finding a new employee, training an employee, it costs money, and not considering that possible loss of revenues that you might have because you might lose a certain person. You have, of course, low, medium, and high impact jobs, and you got to look for that. Yeah,
absolutely. How do you have your benefits set up? That's always a big deal for many of our clients.
Yeah.
How do I administer health insurance? It's very different here, right? I mean, we don't have. Maybe you can compare and contrast a little bit.
So it's not so easy let's say it this way. In the beginning, when I started 6 years ago, like I had to deal with a lot of this stuff myself. You had once a year the health insurance renews, right? It's like a contract. It's valid for a year. You have to find different plans, and the expense every year went up like double digits every year. And it was crazy.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, we need to find a better solution, but what are you going to do? You're kind of like small company. You have to offer a certain amount of benefits to the employees to keep them there, keep them happy. But how do you deal with double-digit increases in healthcare costs every year? I mean, it was like standard. So can
you give us some idea, like if you wanted to insure an employee, like what would the entire portion cost of, there's always an employee part, right, and there's an employer part, but let's just talk as dollar cost as a whole. What is the cost to insure a family versus maybe just an individual employee?
So that's the thing about it too. In Europe, the whole family has coverage.
Right.
Here in the U.S., an employer can offer health insurance for the employee, or for the employee with spouse, employee with child, or the whole family. And that has different tiers of expenses.
Right.
So, and then also how much is the coverage of the employee? So you have different plans. They might cover this, but not that. Or your hospital cost, your out-of-pocket expenses much higher. So it could range from like if you have it also is about the age. So the younger you are, the less expensive it is.
Yeah.
If you have a female versus male, there they make some difference, which is not right.
Yeah.
But it can range from anywhere from like $300-400, which would be really cheap, up to like $1,500, $2,000 plus.
And this would be a monthly premium. Yeah.
Monthly. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and here in the US, of course, you don't have to offer it. If you're below 50 employees, then you do not have to offer health insurance. If you're over 50 and you don't offer health insurance, then you can get penalized under the Obama Healthcare Act. But I think it's wise to offer health insurance for your employees, not just health insurance, long-term, short-term disability, vision insurance, dental insurance, life insurance. We're doing all of this. And for instance, for the health insurance, we're paying 82% of the premium. In Germany, it's 50-50. But here, the employer can decide how much do they want to pay out for the plan and how much is the employee paying. So for us, 18% the employee pays, 82% the employer pays.
Fantastic.
Yeah. Which is really great for a company of our size and a great benefit.
Yeah. That's great. And do you buy this directly from the major insurance companies, or how do you do that?
So in the past, we worked with an agent, and they shopped around, and that's how we got to it. But then, like I said, it was double-digit increases. Now we're going with a PEO, Professional Employer Organization.
Professional Employer Organization. Okay.
It's basically hundreds of thousands of small employers. They're all being bundled under this big umbrella, and you have the PEO sitting on top of it, and they negotiate rates and with the large health insurance companies. So you can offer big corporation benefits for much lower cost than you would be able to do if you would have been on your own. So for instance, our health insurance cost has gone up minimal in the last year since we've been joined the Professional Employer Organization.
Yeah.
They take care of your workers' compensation, that's part of it. Like I mentioned earlier, dental insurance, vision insurance, short-term, long-term disability. You have a 401k that you can offer your employees. It's basically 401k is like your private retirement plan.
In Germany, I think this will be called a Riester-Rente, or there used to be something like that. I don't know if that's still there, but so very similar to that, but much it plays a much bigger role here in the States. And 401k stands for, I believe it's the article or the paragraph or something like that in the IRS code that applies to this. So that's why 401k.
You know what I mean?
Well,
But it's definitely, the PEO is definitely a good way to employ your employees. I mean, also what they do, and you have to think about that, they take care of any HR issue that you might have. They have attorneys on staff that take care of your company handbook, which a company here in the US should definitely have.
That's a huge difference. Also, employment contracts, which is, or employment agreements, which is very much a European thing versus, handbook and offer letters. That's a whole nother episode if we wanted to go into that.
Exactly. Well, that's the next subject. But definitely a handbook is very, very important because you live by those rules. But they take care of you. If you have an accident, like God forbid that an employee has an accident, they take care of the workers' compensation claims, make sure that everything is going the right way. There's so many rules and regulation that when you are a smaller employee, you are not able to know everything. And that's why the PEO really helps on that one. I'm doing a lot of advertisement for them right now.
Yeah, you should be selling for PEO.
I should. Maybe, who knows?
No, but absolutely. I mean, I completely agree. I mean, many clients, especially, all those consultative conversations where someone's considering to come here, I always talk about PEOs as well, and how great they're great value to get started and get going, and so that's really, really good.
It actually also helps with having employees in different states. So that's also like, for instance, us as a smaller company and having, customers all over the country.
Yeah.
We went away from the model of that the employees had to be living close to the factory, right? If they're not traveling, then they need to be in the factory. We went away from that a few years ago already. So for me, it's important, for instance, travel technicians. They can live where they want as long as they're close to an airport, right? A major airport where they can visit our customers. They're gone on the road anyway, Monday through Fridays, or sometimes 2 weeks or 3 weeks in a row, of course. Yeah. So if they're distributed all over the United States, it makes our life a little bit easier for our customers because they're closer by. Yeah. They don't always have to travel from the East Coast all the way to the West Coast. Yeah. I already have people in Colorado, for instance, and in Texas, where they basically can go much quicker and see our customers. Yeah. So, and normally as an employer, you would have to register in each state. So there's a lot of paperwork involved with these things. But with the PEO, you don't have to worry about that.
We need to start looking into this because we have 7 employees now in 4 different states. So I think it's about time.
It makes it much easier.
Because we are going through this, like going to register in each of the different states and everything that goes with it. So got a lot of calls with your attorneys and with your CPAs, which are expensive as well. Yes. So I too completely get it. Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. As far as the distances, again, too, I want to talk about that also. It's just, in Germany, you read posts every once in a while on LinkedIn or maybe reading some kind of journal. And there's discussions about not flying inland, and taking the rail instead. It's, I think one thing that companies coming here always underestimate is the distances. I will never forget. I live in Atlanta, which is the 9th largest city in the United States. And it's kind of like the Southeast's heart, so to say. And I wanted to have a vacation or book some time in the Outer Banks, which is an island chain in front of North Carolina. So I just quickly went on Google Maps. So North Carolina, for whomever doesn't know the U.S. map, that's 2 states above Atlanta, Georgia, or Georgia. And it's 11 hours by car to get to 2 states above. I mean, you're not in Washington, D.C., you're not in Virginia, you've just made it to Outer Banks. So 11 hours from where I grew up in Germany, I would be in South Tyrol, so it's Italy, so it's, the distances are, so I think that's the way to go. And many discussions I have with clients as well. If you still have this mindset, people need to be here and they need to work in my office, it's just not, specifically with field service and with sales, it's just a thing of the past. If you hire the right people, you can trust them, they're going to get the job done. If they don't, you have the ability to, change an employee much faster than you can in Europe. But the true professionals, they're just getting their job done. There are less headaches for you. It's great.
I think especially Corona, really during Corona, the work from home has, I was skeptical, I have to say that. In the beginning, I was very conservative in that perspective. People had to be at the office. If you want to get paid, you got to be at the office. But Corona has really teach me that I was wrong before. And my employees did an amazing job. I was able to, go on a call at 7:30 in the morning, and people picked up, and they weren't in their pajamas. They were literally like professionally dressed and on camera. And I say kudos to my employees. They did a very good job. And they also helped me change my mind on that perspective.
Yeah, absolutely. We have, like I mentioned, employees in 4 different states. And, I know this from myself. I've worked for employers and I didn't get, now let's put a disclaimer here, okay? If you run an injection molding plant, you're going to have 400 people show up, for 3 shifts, to crank out those parts, So with certain businesses, what we're discussing here just doesn't work, and I empathize. For our business, unfortunately, or fortunately, we are able to be a little bit more flexible. And giving that kind of flexibility has really paid back for us. I know how I like to work. When I like to take a break, or when I'm at my most productive, or I have 3 young children. I was just last week from 10 to 11:30. I had to watch my little one do a ballet dance. And I have the ability to go do that, but then start, an hour and a half earlier, or, whatever it is, work through lunch, to just get it done. And I think that's a real benefit of this work from home, where someone can, I think you're getting a lot of people back into the workforce, which we have a labor shortage, an issue, right? So it's a great way to get creative and get people to come back, participate, specifically working mothers. That if you just show that flexibility and you're a little bit clever about it, are you going to make bad experiences? For sure.
Yeah, of course, of course.
Yeah.
But I think also in Europe or in Germany, the employers, they think of like, okay, you got to be in front of the computer from 8 till 4 or 3, right? And like I said, going to a ballet play from 10 till 11 is just not possible, right. Or there would have to be some vacation time.
Yeah.
But you have to think about, okay, I might take that break for an hour or 2. As long as I communicate that with my supervisor and make up on that time, because at the end, like here in the U.S., we get paid to do our job.
Yep.
That's a salary, right? We're not on the hourly. If you're an hourly employee, you punch in and punch out. If you need to go for 2 hours, then you punch out. But if you're a salary, you really get paid to do your job. So, and if it takes till 10 p.m. at night, then so it be.
Yeah, exactly.
I know that sounds tough.
No.
Right?
I mean, I think it's completely. I mean, I'm working with a client right now on a senior director of finance role. Well, it was yesterday was Sunday, and I hadn't gotten to it because we had the whole team in town last week, and so I just did it yesterday, and just got done. Now my employers are going to say you own the joint, so I'm a hypocrite, but but I know of many of our employees to do the same thing, and just kind of get things done, so. Let's talk about one more thing, and then let's finally get to Tampa.
Okay, yes.
If you were to be back in Germany right now, right, and you were a younger version of yourself, but you did have all the experience that you have gained for the last 24 years, I believe, what would you recommend to an employee coming here? Where would you start? Like, what are some of the main things they should, and let me give you a little bit of backstory, right? I see companies that call themselves Mittelstand, or the German word for SMB companies, that really shouldn't be considered SMB companies anymore. The way to, I think once you're over 2 billion euros in revenue, you shouldn't be an SMB company. I've helped them get started in the United States. I have worked with much smaller organizations, that start with $1 or $2 million in service sales and then kind of build up on that. And you'd be surprised at some of the mistakes that are being made. And they have gone to the cultural training, right? And they've done strategy sessions, right? And they select the people that they send, and then they still come in just woefully unprepared for what they will encounter here. So I always wonder, why that happens. And so back to you, the question, what are some of the things that you would really like this? You got to get this right before you even start.
Yeah. So you gotta put some trust, right, as an employer to your employee that you're sending overseas or coming. You got to give them trust. You got to let them go. You got to work on their own, basically. That's very important. I mean, we touched that subject earlier, like companies sometimes are too micromanaging, right? And we need to be also able to, we make mistakes. We all do. I'll do mistakes, absolutely, but we got to own it. And that's very important, so that the people also feel that they can make mistakes without being severely punished on that one, right? I mean, we're all human. So, but with my experience, if I would be basically in Germany or going here, basically, right? I guess always be open-minded and try to learn something. And how can I say this? Don't be arrogant about what you do, and be there for the people, and listen to them, because you can learn from anybody, right?
Yeah.
Not just, my great grandmother, she always said, if you think you know everything, you're wrong. She said, she was 96 years old. She said, I'm still learning every day. So we never stop learning. There's never enough experience.
Yeah, it's very true. High emotional EQ. Yeah. You're trying to understand the market. It's very true. Actually, 2 weeks ago, I was in California and met with a gentleman who was running the U.S. office of a German company also. And they did that. They sent him as a very young guy, I think 23, 26 or so, and just gave him a lot of trust. And he's rewarded them. I mean, he's hustled, and I don't know the exact sales figures, but it's been a very successful market entry for them, from what I can tell. Yeah. Interesting. Finally, Tampa. Okay. So you are not only personally moving to Tampa, but you are relocating Baumer of America from New Jersey to Tampa.
Correct.
That is super interesting. So you went through a site selection process. How did that get kicked off? What were you missing the beach and you were like, hey, what happened?
Well, who doesn't miss the beach, right?
Yeah, no, I'm with you. Yeah.
Even though Jersey has some beaches, it just takes forever to get there.
Jersey Shore, right?
Yeah,
MTV,
exactly.
anybody? Yeah.
So what did it all start, basically? Our strategy, I worked out our strategy, and I'm like, you know what? Where do we want to be in like the next years? It's not only the strategy for the next 3 to 5 years, but where do you want to be in like 10 or 20 years? And like I said, the tri-state area is very expensive. And we were at the point where we were growing, and I'm still seeing great potential. I think we can even grow further, right? That would benefit Baumer of America as well as Albrecht Bäumer in Germany. Of course, when we grow, I want our headquarters to grow. We all need to grow, be healthy.
Is the U.S. market a significant part of overall revenue of Bäumer worldwide?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely. This year, it's about 40%.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So
it fluctuates, of course,
sure,
but this year has been a very strong year for us.
So it's extremely important to the U.S. organization and the market. Okay. Yeah.
But of course, every market is important.
Yeah,
no doubt
sure.
about it. And in the machine industry, when you have larger projects, it fluctuates quite a bit. So, I mean, it will go up and down a little bit. But normally, it should be about 25%.
Okay.
So we were just basically outgrowing our facility in New Jersey. And we have a beautiful plant there, no doubt about it. And we're going to keep the plant.
And you've owned all those buildings since the 70s, right? Or no?
Yeah, they owned another building next door, actually.
Okay.
And sold it and then bought the building that we have in Tobacco now.
Got it.
I wish they would have kept it, but, we could have used the space. But we were just like, we're landlocked there. We cannot expand our building. We cannot build anything to it.
Yeah.
So what are we doing, right? Buy another building in New Jersey is extremely expensive. The taxes are high. And then we're like, okay, maybe we should look outside the box. I mean, after over 40 years in Jersey, there's some sort of like connection.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
You have employees that have been there for a very long time. So I looked into it, and I came to the conclusion maybe we should open another facility, right? And
were you right off the get-go thinking relocation, or were you thinking a second location?
A second location.
Okay.
Yeah. So what we decided to do basically now is we keep our offices, portions of the office in Tobacco, New Jersey. We're going to lease out the space that we have there.
Yeah.
And all the production and manufacturing will come down to Tampa. So we're in the middle of the process right now.
Okay. Yeah.
So as we speak, machines are being loaded up and being shipped down to Tampa.
That's awesome. Yeah. So Tampa, Florida, on the Gulf side of Florida, just south of the Panhandle. I think that's about right.
Yeah.
And I've been there one time to meet a client, a beautiful airport. I do know that as well.
I hope you come back.
Yeah, I'll definitely come back. I'll come see you. Yeah, we'll have a drink at the beach.
Exactly.
Yeah. No, that's so interesting. So you went through this. I'm assuming Tampa wasn't the only location you looked at.
No. We looked at different cities, different states.
Yeah.
So we looked into Texas, Houston. We looked into Charlotte, North Carolina. We looked here at Atlanta. We looked into Jacksonville, Florida. and then we looked into Tampa.
Interesting.
So it's like, it's not so easy to make a site selection. Every state, every city has its pros and cons. Like Charlotte has and Atlanta, a lot of German businesses, but there's also a lot of competition for these employees, for these specialists, right? You have, for instance, Houston, that at the time when we looked, the oil price was low. So there was more labor available. But as soon as the oil price is high, the oil companies, they're basically hiring everybody away with like outrageous wages again.
So true,
and, until the oil price goes down again.
Yeah.
And it sounds funny, but it's really true.
Yeah, I know.
And that was a criteria because we said, okay, Houston is out. But also we come from an area.
Houston, you have 2 more hours of time difference?
Yes.
Yes.
So and we didn't want to do that.
Yeah, I can imagine that played into it. Yeah.
So 6 hours between the East Coast and Germany is as much as it should be.
Yep.
But basically, I think Tampa, not just the weather. I mean, of course, that's a benefit, no doubt about it.
Yeah.
Has beaches, but it also has a good workforce. And Tampa also was the strongest candidate in terms of taxes, also for the employees, because one of the things I always heard is like in Jersey is like, well, we can't afford a house. It's very difficult. I mean, in the past, you had very low interest, but now the interests are going up. So it makes it even harder for people in the Northeast to afford houses. When in Tampa or in Florida in general, you get much more bang for your buck, per se, right?
Yeah.
And so you can afford more.
So you have no state income tax, right?
So there's no state income tax for your personally.
Yeah.
So that's basically zero.
Yeah. And the state income tax in New Jersey is how much?
I would say on average about, it depends, it's staggered, but on average I would say about 8%.
About 8%, gotcha, yeah.
Which is quite a lot.
That's quite that covers inflation for 1 year.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, no, but I mean, obviously hopefully we'll get that under control. Yeah, fantastic. So Tampa was after looking at these different cities. And then how,
but also the labor market, you had to look into that.
Okay.
That was one of the major deciding factors as well. I mean, for certain jobs that we wanted to continue to grow, right? In certain areas, we looked into how many people are available or how many people are looking for jobs in that industry. How many jobs are out there right now? So we really made an really intense site selection process, and I think the overall presentation was close to about 100 pages.
Yeah.
But I shortened it up when I spoke to the shareholders.
Yeah.
And put the major deciding factors on it.
Yeah.
But it is also, you have to think about, I mean, of course, you think Florida, there's hurricanes, right?
Yeah.
So you're like, okay, this is dangerous, but Tampa is kind of in a protected area. I know we just had a hurricane going through it,
yes,
but Tampa was not affected. It went south of Tampa.
Right.
So looking at the history, it's more or less protected area from hurricanes. But also when you're in New Jersey, you have to deal with snowstorms.
Flooding. Didn't you have a flooding issue?
Flooding, snow, and then, all of a sudden employees can't come to work because or you have to send them home earlier because it starts snowing really bad.
Right.
You have to think about power outages because some places have a better energy grid than others. Look at Texas.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. I mean, what was it, a year and a half, 2 years?
Blackouts.
A year ago.
Yeah, rolling blackouts. Yeah.
So terrible.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many factors that really needs attention, but it also depends on what kind of business you're doing, right? If you're more in the manufacturing or distribution, whatever business you're in, you gotta look into specifics. And every state has a lot of different things to offer. Some pros, some cons. But at the end, we felt that Tampa was the right location.
The right one, yeah. Were there economic incentives, or let me ask you this first: how did you go about choosing the service that went with you through the site selection services, the provider, so to say? How did you find this company, and who did you work with?
So I'm part of the Westbound group.
Okay.
So Westbound is a group of they're nationwide. They have different chapters throughout the U.S. And it's a group of CEOs, of usually 10 to 20 CEOs that meet once a month. And they go through their work, they discuss, they ask each other for advice, they tell what's going on, and you learn from each other, basically. And I'm in this group now for 3 years. And it has also, me as a German person, helped understand a lot of the American business thinking. And it's pretty good.
Yeah.
Very good. And there I was basically able to ask a few questions, like who's out there, who has good experience, referrals and stuff like that. And I came with this company, and they did a good job.
Yeah, excellent. That's very good. Did they help you negotiate economic incentives? Was that in play?
Yeah, they do that as well.
Okay.
So there's different economic incentives that's part of the site selection already up front.
Okay.
So you already tell them basically what is your investment, how many jobs are you creating, because at the end it's like how many jobs, how much money you're bringing.
Right.
And depends on the dollar value. Each county, each state gives you this and that. There's states that don't give you anything, more of the county that gives you the incentives.
Yeah.
And other areas you get both. And it depends.
Yeah, that's excellent. Very good. And then so you mentioned that you're going to lease out your current facilities in New Jersey.
Yeah.
Did you end up purchasing in Tampa, or you?
No, we're leasing a building right now in Tampa. And but like I said, the office in New Jersey we're gonna keep, just the warehouse that we're gonna lease out. And in Florida we already rented a building. But our goal is, because we're German and this is the ultimate goal, we'd like to own the property, right? That we're leasing. Either we're gonna would there be an option to purchase the property that we're in? Hopefully. Yeah. The other possibility is to build something in the area.
Yeah. Well, right now it's an interest environment where there might be some deals coming up here in the next 12, 18 months. We'll see how things are going to go.
I think so too, because the commercial real estate market has reached its peak, and I think it will drop down in the next few months. You're right. Yeah, there will be some deals.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I have a good friend who's a commercial real estate broker in not fun times at the moment. Yeah. What was the most surprising situation, or the most surprising of the in this entire process? We were like, whoa, I wasn't expecting this.
That's a good question. I can tell you, I wouldn't say a little bit of a surprise, but deep inside I had the hope it would happen, was that the majority of our employees were coming with us.
That's fantastic. Yeah.
So, and this is, I think it's part of our culture of like how we manage our employees.
So how many like you have 40 employees you mentioned earlier, right?
40 employees total, yeah.
How many are going to Florida?
We got about 15 that are going, and then we have employees that we're hiring down there. So it will be ramped up. And then the rest is distributed between like service technician, salespeople that are distributed throughout the country.
That's right.
And then a few left in New Jersey.
Yeah, but so overall, like from, prior to site selection and now being in Tampa, how much headcount did you lose, or how many employees did you lose?
2 people.
2 people, really?
2 people.
Okay, well, that's excellent. Yeah.
We lost 2 people, and those 2 people, they came to our Christmas party last Friday, and I told them, whatever they need, please let me know. We left in good terms, of course. That's very important for me, because, when you have employees that work for you for a few years, you're getting close to them, right? You get to know their families, you hear about them, and the decision of opening something in Tampa and the possibility of losing jobs in Jersey was not so easy. And I have to say, I had to battle with myself a little bit. How this is going to be dealt with, right? Yeah. At the end, we found really good solution for everybody. And like I said, we only lost 2 people. Yeah. and they're good guys.
Yeah,
sure.
I love this. I mean, about European companies, not all of them, but especially that Mittelstand, small to medium-sized business, is a self-imposed moral, not ownership or leadership of, towards your employees, right? Where they helped you build something, and therefore, you owe them something, even though if you were to look at the numbers, you don't.
Right.
Or by law you might not,
Right.
but it's like, nope, you helped us, we help you kind of thing, so that's really cool.
But you have to think about, those employees, everybody else also sees how you treat your employees, all the remaining employees.
Best marketing tool, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, marketing, I don't want to say it's just like part of the culture.
Yeah. Okay.
Right?
No, I hear you. No. Yeah, it's not just a gimmick. I
Right.
see what you're saying. It's really coming from the, but
It's
a
coming
nice
from the heart.
From the heart. That's right. But a side benefit is that, hey, I'm just treating people well,
Right.
and therefore other people would like to be treated as well.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, that's very cool. So how did that work? Did you, many times when we have an out-of-state, placement, there's a relocation package involved.
Mm-hmm.
Is that something that you employed, or?
Yes, of course.
Yeah.
So we basically sent out, told the employees this is the incentive package of moving. Basically, they're responsible for everything. Of getting everything together. Here in the U.S., you have to do that via the payroll. You cannot just write a check. That's just not based on IRS rules.
Sure.
So you have to put it on their paycheck, and that way they could be able to move their car, move down there. I mean, overall, it's 1,800 kilometers away. And I drove my car down there, and it was a 2-day trip.
Yeah.
Not fun. It was 18 hours total driving.
Yeah, and it's just highway, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
But it's exhausting.
I imagine.
Driving in America is more comfortable than driving on the Autobahn.
Right.
I love the Autobahn. But it's definitely a long drive.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah.
How difficult was it to get Germany on board for this relocation? I mean, like let me be the devil's advocate German CEO, right? Here comes my US CEO telling me, what we've had for 40 years. And it's working because you took the company from 11 million to somewhere over 30 million, right? Now, all of a sudden, you need to go to somewhere in Florida close to the beach, right?
The first thing is like they think, he wants to go on vacation or something or retire.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
No. It wasn't like this. Like I said, I did intensive research and the relocation strategy. And of course, I presented that to our German CEO as well as to our shareholders. And they were very open for this. And I have to say that our CEO in Germany is like very great guy. He's very open to listen, and he thought it was a great idea too, as well as the shareholders. The shareholders are fantastic too. Yeah. So they let us do what we need to do. Of course, we have to show them how we're going to do it, what we're doing, and of course, I'm being measured on that. And of course, questions come up throughout. Are you within budget? Of course,
sure.
There's a budget.
Yeah.
I mean, it costs a little bit of money, no doubt about it. But
can you speak about some of those figures? Is that like what are you able to? I mean, obviously, lots of tax savings and such.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's confidential or not.
No, yeah. I mean, I don't want to go into specific numbers, sure. But definitely there's a high 7-digit savings over the next years. Yeah. So
the business case is solid.
The business case is solid, definitely. But part of that is also of us renting out our building as well in New Jersey.
Oh, right. So you got into the real estate business.
Well, it's a combination of both.
Okay, yeah.
Yes, definitely.
Well, it's a great position to be in. That's absolutely fantastic. Yeah.
But the taxes is the major part of
major savings, yeah. Well, and if the workforce is able for you to fulfill your unique mission, then heads off, everything done right. Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, that's very good. Excellent. Yeah, I mean, honestly, Uwe, I think we're kind of come to the end of our conversation. I think it's been awesome. Yeah. Super informative. I really appreciate you being our first guest.
Yeah. I'm honored to be the first guest.
Oh, that's awesome. That's great. Yeah. And let's agree that we'll do the 100th episode together again.
In Tampa?
In Tampa, yeah, that's right. Yeah, we actually asked our crew here if they would travel with us to clients' offices to potentially do a podcast in the future. Maybe in your manufacturing hall or something like that. So yeah, I'll take you up on that. That'd be great.
Perfect.
Yeah,
that's a deal.
Yeah, that's very cool. Let me ask you one last question. Is there any personal media channels, social media channels that you use? Do you have a website you want to promote, a charitable cause, social media channels, anything like that? Be happy to give you a plug here.
Okay, I have to think about this. Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, of course, we use through work. We use like LinkedIn, Facebook, and so on.
Yeah.
Like charity, you mean?
Yeah.
I'll give you a few later.
That's awesome. That's great. We'll put that in the show notes. And again, thank you so much for coming. Really, really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me here.
Thank you.